So I've seen Avatar: The Way of Water. I cycled in the cold for James Cameron all the way to the Waterloo IMAX, and damn it, I would do it again. You make Terminator 2 and you have a free pass to make whatever weird blue alien sex movie you want, and I will be there, Mr. Cameron.
You're mine.
It's nice to see a big blockbuster on screen with CGI as polished and well lit and well conceived as it is in Avatar. A welcome change to the gluttony of rushed and patchwork blockbusters the audience has become all too accustomed. Unfortunately, story always comes first, which is what once again holds back this franchise from being something truly incredible. When the film started and we saw the Na'vi hit the human supply train, I thought, great, this whole movie is going to be about Sully leading the Na'vi against the humans using guerrilla warfare. I hope the rest of the movie is this relentless. Only about 30 minutes later I realised the movie was actually going to be about the Sully family in hiding and learning to vibe with the Water Tribe. Not necessarily a bad thing, but it meant the majority of the middle third was devoted to watching the cast go whale watching. As stunning as the effects were, I kinda wanted to see more of the conflict with the Na'vi and the humans returning after more than a decade since their defeat. It adds some new ideas to the mythos, but this is largely more of the same. Not quite the expansive sequel that flips the original on its head, like Cameron's work with Aliens and Terminator 2. The Water Tribe were interesting, but I didn't feel especially invested in Sully and co trying to learn their ways and adapt. Plus the high school bully angle with the kids was pretty tired and tropey. Hey look guys, that Avatar nerd doesn't have a tail adapted for swimming. Let's point and laugh at him. Ha ha. Things pick up again in the third act with a truly stunning extended set piece on the water. Cameron is the master of action cinema and he's upped his game in terms of the spectacle from the first movie tenfold. Cameron said that one of his main criticisms of the Marvel movies is that everyone speaks like they're in college, and I think that's a really valid criticism. After 4 phases of homogenised gags, witticisms and rebuttals, the characters do all start to sound roughly the same. Contrast that with the way Jake and Neytiri act in The Way of Water compared to the previous instalment. They have a much more weathered and measured temperament since they have become parents. There's some jokes in the movie, but the humour doesn't really come from them. Much like any real parents, they're cautious, observant, protective. The Jake Sully in Avatar, without a flock to care for, was headstrong and impulsive and didn't have a whole lot of self-preservation. It's nice to see characters evolve like this, and the 13-year wait dictates that we need to see this kind of growth in our characters to make it worthwhile. The rest of the plot feels like the Avatar sequel that would have followed after a quick 2-year turnaround. 2011's Avatar: The Way of Water is a side quest sequel where they go whale watching and meet the Water Tribe. It doesn't feel like the Empire Strikes Back sequel that really pushes everything forward in a huge way. Nothing really changes for the world of Pandora, nor do the humans make any great strides in taking over the planet. This movie kind of reminds me of Incredibles 2. It took years for the sequel to get made, and the movie ended up being decent, but it didn't feel like the filmmakers cracked a story worthy of such a long wait. Overall, I think this movie is still a really fun ride and the effects are absolutely jaw-dropping, but the first movie is a more complete and satisfying experience. Whilst Sully's arc in Avatar is obvious from the first moment he sets down on Pandora, I buy into it, and I buy into his love story of Neytiri more than I do their Way of Water arc. The humans making a bid for the World Tree and the unobtainium beneath is a concise third act. The Moby Dick heads in the sequel hunting Jake Sully and stealing anti-aging serum doesn't quite form as strong a motive. It also leads me to the conclusion that yes, I do want more Avatar movies, more than I ever thought I did, but I don't think I need them with Jake Sully. I'm not suggesting I want a million Avatar spin-offs, concurrent projects, or a cinematic universe. God knows we have enough of them. I'm fine with getting them years apart each time, making each installment feel like an event in the way that Star Wars once did before it was annualized. The only thing I want to change in terms of the output are the stories being told. Cameron has created a rich sci-fi world that could be looked at through numerous perspectives and locations. I think the blueprint for the Avatar world should be something closer to the Narnia series. In each book we explore the world of Narnia with a different cast of characters and a different perspective. Sometimes it's from the viewpoint of a Narnia native, sometimes it's from the viewpoint of an alien visitor. Sure, sometimes characters return or cross over, a la The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe to Prince Caspian, but overall the books feel like they cover every nook and cranny Narnia has to offer. I think this template could perfectly translate to Pandora. We could get stories about humans visiting for various purposes, good and bad, we could get stories from the perspectives of the Na'vi, we could travel 1,000 years into the future, or we could go 1,000 years into the past. Cameron has created a sandbox that he can play within. The effects are there and they are stunning. Now let's take the story in truly interesting directions. Case in point, the best thing about Avatar: The Way of Water is the resurrected Colonel Quatrich and his recombinants. Avatar saw Stephen Lang's human villain conclusively die at the hands of Neytiri after a one-on-one with Jake Sully. Through the power of eerie future tech, Quaritch was able to create a hard drive backup of his brain before the final battle, and now in Avatar 2, the humans have used that copy to create a revived Quaritch in the form of an avatar.
You are watching us. We have been brought back in the form of our enemy, with their size, their strength, their speed. Outstanding.
This Quaritch is infinitely more interesting, and ironically, infinitely more human and three-dimensional than his previous incarnation. You feel empathy for this bizarre situation. It's unsettling to be shown a face you recognise as yourself, telling you that you are dead. Unlike Sully, who chose to leave his human visage behind, Quaritch has been forced into an avatar body with a new mission. His allegiance to the cause hasn't faltered, but it's clear he's finding it hard to contend with his own oblivion and the fact that somehow he is still here. The recombinants discover the site of human Quaritch's final stand. You can see the distress on his face as he comes to realise that he was killed by 2 arrows fired at his heart, and he finds his own skull unceremoniously decaying amongst the vegetation he had risked his life to destroy. This culminates in the most metal part of the whole movie, wherein Avatar Quaritch crushes human Quaritch's skull.
We cannot let...
There's an existential terror to being alive, but also not being the same person. A copy who exists that never got to experience his own end. How much is he still the original man? This whole thread feels like the most James Cameron thing in the whole movie. When Quaritch's human son, the Na'vi allegiant Spider, is held hostage by Neytiri, the Colonel says, "We're not even the same species." A fantastic line full of interesting contradictions because Spider thinks he's a Na'vi and Quaritch thinks he's a human. Both are wrong but also right in their assumptions. Quaritch does have something of a heart after all, as he cannot bring himself to let his own son die. This is more texture to the character than he was ever given in the first movie. My point is that the Colonel Quatrich Avatar doppelganger is easily the best part of the movie, and could lead a narrative all by himself. In fact, I think I would have rather seen that movie something entirely from his maligned perspective. You could have done this sequel from his perspective entirely, and had him finally cross paths with Sully at the end, making the original movie's protagonist the antagonist of this story. Imagine if we'd have spent so much time with Quaritch to care about him like we cared about a supposed villain like Jaime Lannister, and then we get reunited with the first movie's protagonist, except we don't want either party to perish because of what we've learned. I'm not saying I dislike Jake Sully and Neytiri's plot in the movie, I just don't think there's enough mileage for 5 movies. The world is what is giving the mileage, and Avatar 2 has proven that different perspectives and storylines in the Pandora world can be really interesting if given the proper time to develop. Producer John Landau said that the plan for Avatar 5 is for Neytiri to visit Earth, and I'm interested in that. But imagine if we didn't see her or her family for the next 2 movies. We had unique stories set in different times and got new details to the Pandora world we never thought possible. And then the trailer for Avatar 5 drops and we see Neytiri step down on a vista of Earth, a broken, torn down world depleted of its fossil fuels and resources, a dead husk that this Na'vi will now explore. I think we'd be way more excited to see these characters in a sequel story, but there's other ways to build up to that. I don't think the Sully clan have the chops for a multi-part epic, but the Na'vi, Pandora, its creatures, the human race desperately struggling to survive in space, and the whole concept of being an avatar are ripe for more narratives. Make each one a closed-off story that we feel satisfied by watching in isolation. Make it so that people watch every Avatar movie, not because it's leading to some big team-up event, but because each story is so enthralling, it's unmissable cinema. A big thank you to my full fat tier patron, Dr. Chike. If you'd like to donate money to my Patreon, you can find me at patreon.com/fullfatvideos. If you'd like to find me on Instagram, you can find me at full_fat_videos. And if you'd like to find me on Twitter, you can find me at, you guessed it, at fullfatvideos.